Hey guys, I'm here on another episode of the Part of the Culture podcast. I'm here with soon to be legendary, been legendary in her heart. Now it's time for you guys to know Miss Mari G. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Hello.
Hello. So thank you for coming on the Part of the Culture podcast. So from me, I've been watching her. She has a 21-day challenge right now. So just tell people your backstory, who you are, and then we'll kind of get into your challenge. And that's it. Let's go.
All right. Sounds good. First off, I want to thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been such an honor and a blessing to know you.
Same. It's cool watching you. And I swear I seen the switch. I see it right now.
Back in 2018, I was such in a bad place. I owed about $30,000 in just credit card debt.
Wow.
I had a good paying job, so I really didn't have an excuse to be in so much debt. I didn't have a mortgage, paid very little in rent, but I just didn't know how to manage my money. And it wasn't until I took a deep look at myself, at where I was at in life, and I started to do life coaching, that I started to realize all the stories that I had created in my head.
Yeah.
All the limiting beliefs that I had created.
Yeah.
And all of the limitations that I myself had put on me.
Yeah.
Nobody put them on me except for me, but I had made all these excuses as to why my life was, not going in the direction where I wanted to. Like, oh, I just wasn't smart enough. I didn't make enough money. People had it easy. Some people just, they were just naturally gifted. And I started doing life coaching back in early 2019.
Okay.
And I worked on myself. I worked on my money story, on my limiting beliefs, the root of it all. And I started to have an awakening.
Okay.
And I continued my life coaching with Carmen Rosas. I know that you've also worked with her as well.
Yeah. She's amazing. So she was one of the she spoke for a little bit at the Success is the Best Revenge series. She was actually on the podcast. So for anyone listening, she's a lawyer. She talks about she has two sides to her business. So she does life coaching, but she also helps people when they like setting up wills and trusts so that if anything happens, your family properly gets the money. It doesn't go into probate. So I didn't know any of this stuff before until I met Carmen. So it's a huge process. So as I build my investments, I have to start thinking about these things.
Exactly. So she's just a wealth of knowledge, and she helped me understand that one of the reasons why I didn't know how to manage my money was because I had created the story as a child that money was only for the people who worked very hard, or for people who were born into money, that, that I was a person that was not going to have very much in life, that had a lot of limitations. And so by having that knowledge and acknowledging my story, I was able to transform it.
Yeah.
And so then I started working with another coach as well. Her name is Ray Slusher, and she helped me out with emotional intelligence. So I took a deep look at how my behaviors, and again, it went back to money. So I started to get all this knowledge and information. And then I attended your event, Success is the Best Revenge. And I tell you, when I heard you speak, when I heard Shireen Rivera speak, Jen Alvarez, all of the speakers that day, I just felt like everything was in alignment. Like all the work that I had put into myself, it all came together. And like, that's when the big, like, boom came through. Like, I was unstoppable. I had all this knowledge and information, and it was time to take massive action.
Boom. I'm so glad that it was, one of the sparks. Obviously, I give you full responsibility for taking action, but literally one of my main missions with throwing events and with broadcasting my life so much is, if you really know me, like, I'm an ordinary cat. I wear baseball caps. Like, I'm not this Harvard graduate, but a lot of people, we have been taught that only professors can throw seminars and only the elite can do these things, and I had to literally blow the roof off of that. Like, no, like ordinary people can win. And actually, you talk about seminar, and as I hear you speak, it reminds me, I went to an Eric Thomas event, and I wish I knew her name, but I can't remember it. But one of the speakers, she said, she's like, what are you waiting for? She's like, you are the perfect person. She's like, there's not going to be no magic day that's going to come and just like, oh, today's the day that you become successful. Like, today's the day. And you are the person to do it. Not anybody else. It's your time. And after she said that, like, from that day forward, I was like, you know what? I'm going all in. And even I thought I was going all in. And I just feel like now I'm starting to realize, like, man, I got all these gifts and all these abilities, and there's so much I can do, and there's so much you can give to the world. So it does come from the seminar, and there's, it's an exciting feeling, but it also comes with your network starts to change, the people around you start to change. There is growing pains. I remember, I've told this story before, but I remember literally crying when I made this change, and I decided, I think at 32, I'm 34, so about 2 years ago, this version of myself was created. And I remember when, because I had my awakening, and I remember crying to my girlfriend at the time because I was like, I don't have any friends anymore. I don't have and so it was a sad moment, but it's funny, fast forward to this conversation and thoughts in my head, it's crazy, my network right now. I just came from a photography person. My business partners, we just finished a fix and flip. After this, I'm going to help my friends brand their company. So now I have a crazy network, but my network had to die at first. So it was a sad point.
Exactly. And like you are transforming lives. Like, you transformed my life, and you also helped my dad out, because I came home that day and I started telling my father all of the information that I learned from the seminar. I told him about the Robinhood app, about investing. And my dad has always been very money savvy, but his assets were houses.
Yeah.
And retirement accounts.
What's wrong with that? Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But he had, he's never invested in the stock market. That's something that he always wanted to do. But again, we put limitations on ourselves, and he's like, oh, that's not for me. Why not?
Yeah.
So he opened up an account on Robinhood.
Wow.
He has $10,000 now saved. Sorry, not saved, but invested in Robinhood. Yeah. And if it weren't for me going to your seminar, and if it were for you to, host that seminar and, provide that information, none of this would have happened.
So so she keeps talking about the success is the best revenge. And at that seminar, I talked about investments. And the thing that a lot of, Black, brown, minorities, white, everybody, what we're not taught is, we're so taught, like, if you open a magazine, any magazine right now, you're going to see go buy Gucci, go buy Chanel, go buy Nike or Under Armour, the latest, trend. But there's not going to be anything teaching us to take a piece of our money and buy assets. And that was one of the game changers for me, is like, it's okay to buy Chanel. It's okay to buy Gucci. It's okay to have that stuff. But instead of spending 100% on that stuff, spend 70% on that stuff and spend 30% in a savings account, investing, 10% investing, 10% saving, and 10% giving back to the world, by making these podcasts, and that's how you create generational wealth. And that's how, I can't tell you the impact. And I thought it was just a money thing, but it changes who you have access to, because now I'm able to invest in bigger properties, meaning I know general contractors, painters, lawyers, it changes. When your network changes, your circle of influence also changes. So Definitely. That was what success is the best revenge. But I've learned so much about what happens after you start investing, and it opens up a whole new world.
It really does. And I'm going to show you something real quick, just for you to see. These are all credit card offers that I continuously get on an everyday basis.
Wow.
This is just from 1 week.
Wow.
And it's so easy to get into debt.
It is.
These are all offers that I get. And I save them because I like showing people, because I want people to really understand how easy it really is to get into debt.
Yeah. It is.
And that's my mission, is that my mission right now is to help people understand how to manage their money, because we often think that only rich people know how to manage their money.
Yeah.
And if you start taking small steps every day, you can create wealth in your life. It's something attainable, like anybody can do it.
So for, anyone listening, let's keep it super simple. And what are 3 ways that people can start, what are 3 principles for people to start applying, today or this week or this weekend? What are 3 principles you would start with to keep it simple? And then they could follow you and follow the, get in the 21-day challenge or find out more about that.
So the first thing that I would do is to be very intentional with how you spend your money. That cup of coffee, going out to breakfast, going out to lunch, going out to dinner, you can make that at home. And if you have a family, you can make that into something that you do all together. One person can do like the preparation, the cutting, the other person can cook, and somebody can wash the dishes. So definitely incorporate your family into cooking. That's one thing. The second thing is to really take a look at how much money you're bringing in.
Yeah.
And how much money you are spending on your expenses. And when I talk about expenses, I'm talking about things that are essential. Your mortgage, your rent, insurance, going out to eat, buying that coffee. That is not something that is essential.
For sure.
And the third thing, believe it or not, is mindset. Mindset is so powerful. And you need to develop a strong mindset, of a positive, growth-minded mindset. Because if you think that you can never get out of debt, you're not going to get out of debt.
Yeah. So I would, even challenge you, and I would make number 1 mindset, because without the right mindset, you can't do anything. And those are very powerful principles. And so even just diving into, taking a moment to dive into the mindset portion. One thing that I had to change, I literally spent $5,000 with a coach working on my mindset. And what we had to do is future visions. And what that looked like is I had to see myself in a position of success. I had to literally spend, I don't know, it was 10, 30, 40 minutes a day, just envisioning the life that I want, envisioning like going in and seeing like, what are my limiting beliefs? Why do I believe this? And putting in like, okay, so, and like, you have to start seeing your dream car, seeing your dream house, seeing the amount of money. And I know your training might've been different, but I literally did this. So an example, like an exercise I would do is like, I want to live in a high rise. So what you do is you see yourself opening the door. What are the scents? What's the temperature feel like? And you walk in that vision. And then, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's fake and what's reality. I talk about it all the time. That's why a scary movie's scary, because obviously you know that these are actors, but your brain, if it's, Jason, you're out at summer camp, he's behind you. So you can use that same scary movie principle to create positive things. And then your mind starts to, it's like a airplane. Like, you can't fly an airplane without a destination. So now you've given your mind somewhere to go. And so with her spending and her budgeting, you want to give your mind somewhere to go. Like, okay, I'm trying to save $10,000. If I'm spending $5,000 on junk food, I can save, instead of me trying to make an extra $5,000, let me just cut back on $5,000 in junk food, and it will enrich the lives of my family, and it will help my mindset, and it will help my body. So there's a lot of win-wins that you're talking about.
Definitely. And one of the things that I learned, and like, this was my aha moment, was when I did the life coaching and we started to talk about mindset. I had a very poor man's mindset. Yeah. I never thought I could ever get out of debt. I always thought that I was always going to be stressing about money. Like, that was my life. I didn't know any better.
For sure. It's not.
When I started to have, I started to have that shift, that is when the magic started to happen. Like, I kid you not, when I attended your event, that was back in was it October or November?
Around there. I honestly, I probably should remember, but yeah, it was towards the end of 2019, 2018, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I kid you not, I started to take a very deep look at my expenses. I cut a lot of things out. I was and I did it, and I didn't feel restricted. And I think that was the main thing, because often when we feel like we are restricted, we have these negative emotions. But I did not feel like that. Like I
Yeah.
had a total, like an abundant mindset.
There we
I have,
go.
yes, I have paid off over $7,000.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the thing is like sometimes people hear numbers, and I think one thing about an abundance mindset is I don't think we have all the time in the world, and I definitely think you have to have a sense of urgency. But what you don't, like even having that sense of urgency, people think like, okay, this year. But if you take 3 years, which is gonna go by like this, that's 21,000. That's more money, and you're having positive habits. So that's huge. So big. I wish I had like a little thing. That's huge. That's really huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. And in 1 year, I've paid off about $15,000 worth of my credit card debt.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So do you still, I know that like I've cut a lot of stuff out of my life that was holding me back, but sometimes it trickles in. Do you still do you struggle with, I could just throw that on my credit card, or I could just get this one last time? I've been doing good. Do you have any struggles on this journey?
No, I don't, because I have like fun money. So
Okay.
I set aside, an X amount of money per month. And that's what I spend on things like makeup or vitamins, or, going out to eat once in a great while. But I don't have any guilt, because I am putting that money aside for that specific reason. And it helps me to not feel like I'm restricting myself so much. It's just a different mindset, like we had talked about earlier.
For sure. Yeah, I think for me, even though I struggle, it's very easy to say no, because I know what that other life looks like. And I know.
Sorry, I think I lost you.
Okay. I know what I said it was easy. Can you hear me? I think you're breaking up. Oh, sorry. Hold on one sec. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Can you hear me now? My phone, my leg, I moved and my leg was over my phone, which is my hotspot. So I think it cut off the connection. But I was saying it's easy not to go back, because you do know the pain of the past, and you do know what it's like to be, you said you paid off what, 15,000? You do know what it's like to have that burden of 15,000. Plus it's like 15,000 that ain't doing nothing. And you look at the stuff that you paid $15,000 for, you're like, that wasn't worth $15,000. That $15,000 could have been in investments. That could have been towards my college, my daughters, or I don't know if you have children, but your kids' college fund. That could have been a retirement. That could have been, a lot of stuff. So I think it's huge. I think it's huge what you've done,
Right. I did an audit on what I would spend my money on, because I was clueless. And when I did that audit, and I think I had told you this already, I spent over $50,000 on traveling, going out to dinner, happy hour, like stuff that gives me no return at all.
Yeah.
At
no
all.
ROI.
No,
Yeah.
yes, no, or no, exactly. And man, like when I saw my my audit, I was just like, what the?
I'll be honest with you. I eat out a lot. And it's probably been my only expense, like eating out and gas, because I've had this house project, so I have been going back and forth, and I've been eating at the thing. But I definitely when this all first started, I had groceries, and I would just make my coffee, my cereal, and everything in the morning, and then that would save me so much money, because I think I spent like $30 on some croissants and eggs, and that $30 lasts me all week. One meal is, even at McDonald's, one meal is $10. So, and you don't have anything left over. So I'm going to challenge myself to do two things from this meeting. One, there's an app called Mint, and I'm going to hook it up to all of my bank accounts, and I'm going to track all the money that I'm spending on food, on gas. I haven't taken a good look. And then I'm really going to start tracking. I do it for my business, because I have to for taxes for one of my businesses, but I'm going to take a really deep look at everything. And I'm going to really, really get intentional about tracking it. If I motivated you, you've motivated me to take my finances serious, because I already kind of budget, because I only will spend 70% of my income on life. And if I get to 70% and I don't have the money, I'll just say, oh, well, even if it comes to rent, I'll be like, hey, I'm, I get paid this day. But I have so many hustles that I always made all of my payments. But now that things are a little bit slower, I'm going to get much more intentional and stop. And plus my food, where I used to work, they used to give us free food. So I got used to that. And so now I have to get used to cooking again. But I think what you're saying is super huge. And I like what you said about giving yourself a play fund. That's what I think people think when you hear budget or invest, you got to invest 100% of your money. Like, no, instead of, I already said it, but just cut it down a little bit. Instead of spending $100, spend $70 and pay yourself, and then I like what you said, even biblically, they're like, it's better to be a lender than a borrower. And so one of my biggest goals in life is to go from borrowing money to lending out money. People that when we borrow money, we become a servant to whoever loaned it to us and to that money. And you want to free yourself. That's a form of slavery. And you want to free yourself from that slavery.
You're a slave to the creditors, and it's so true.
Yeah. And they can sue you. They can do all types of crazy stuff.
Exactly. No, nowadays it's so easy to get into debt, especially with what's going on right now with the coronavirus. So many people getting laid off, and banks are making it so easy for people to get loans and people to get, balance transfers or new credit cards, as you see all right here.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I do want to throw something in, and this is like, I am not a financial advisor, but once you learn, so credit can be good. It's like fire. It could be good or it could be bad. So I bought a real estate.
I lost you again.
Okay. You have me? Can you hear me? So we're on Zoom. Everybody listening. And then we'll just do a few more moments. I want to talk quickly about the 21-day challenge and then how people can find you and can shut it down. But what I was saying is, once you master credit and you learn how to use it in a good way, you can use credit to make money. The problem is if you're buying the same thing, if you're buying liabilities, that credit's not making you any money, so you're coming out of pocket. But if you have a way to, like, if you get your credit up, you can use that credit to buy real estate, and you can leverage the credit for good. So don't think that credit is only bad, but you have to learn the difference between using credit to buy assets and the difference between credit and buying liabilities. If you use it to buy liabilities, eventually you're going to go bankrupt. If you can buy assets, which are things that put money in your pocket, then that credit can pay you, your tenants or whoever are paying the credit card off, and your credit will go up. That is, again, talk to a professional before you implement any of these strategies, but there's two sides of the fence. So I just wanted to throw it out. There's levels to this, as Meek Mill says. But I wanted to ask you, go ahead.
And that's amazing. That's, I've learned a little bit of that from, I think, is it Robert Kiyosaki?
Yeah.
He talks about that a lot. How you can use debt to your advantage. You
can. So to be transparent, for the fix and flip, I put in 30% into the deal. So out of that 30%, 10% of that was just straight credit cards. So now when I get money back, instead of only getting 20% back, I'm going to be able to get an extra 10% back because of the credit cards. But say the house doesn't sell, I'm responsible for that money. So it's not just like I'm just rolling in dough, but I'm taking on a certain level of risk. But I was able to, if I do, when the house does sell, it does increase the amount of money and that I can receive back as part of the profit because of credit. So if I had $50,000 in credit, I would be able to receive more. But in order to get those type of numbers, you have to be good with credit, and you have to understand to buy assets versus liabilities. That's another topic for another day. But once you pay this stuff off, you can start looking at these strategies. And check out Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's actually a game on richdadpoordad.com called the Cashflow Quadrant. I would recommend anyone, it's free. Start playing that game, and it teaches you how to get out of the rat race, because that's the ultimate goal, is to get out of the rat race when it comes to money. And that means that your assets are paying for your liabilities. Your assets are paying for your mortgage, your car payment. So like the dividends from stocks, the rental from your property, you want that to pay for your liabilities. You don't want your back you're working to pay for your liabilities. You want to work, take that money, buy assets, and those assets pay for your lifestyle. That's really the formula for success, and that's really the goal of money, is to leverage it so that it pays you, that you're not always having to break your back.
Yes.
So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the 21-day challenge and what that is and how you started that. Just spend a few moments on that.
Definitely. So I was empowered to share my story with other people because I felt embarrassed about it, and I felt shame because how could I have been so bad with my money despite having a very financial savvy father, having a good job, and it was really hard for me to open up. But at the same time, when I shared my story with other people, it empowered myself, and it also empowered other people to take action.
Me included.
I was sharing the knowledge with some of my coworkers, and I didn't think they were listening to me. Like I thought, like, okay, they're getting bored off my conversations, but I was just so happy to have learned all this information and to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
But little did I know that they were listening.
Yeah.
They started to, pay their credit card debt. They started to be more intentional with their money. And then they started sending me text messages or Facebook messages. And they're like, oh, I paid X amount off my debt.
Okay, Maury. Okay. Go ahead. That's exciting.
Friends, it is. Friends I hadn't talked to in a long time, like people that I used to go partying with, I thought that I had lost in touch with them also. They started messaging me as well, like, hey, I paid off this money off my credit card. I'm, putting extra money into my mortgage, into the principal. I want to pay my house off. I'm like, man, this is so awesome. Like, and it was a sign from God. In reality, I feel that, God has aligned me with people like you, people like Shireen, people like Chandra Brooks.
Yeah.
And it's helped me. Yes, exactly. And I have been able to help other people out. And I'm like, why not open up about my story to help more people out?
Yeah.
And that's how I got started. I started sharing my my story, when I would pay stuff off, how much money I would pay off of my credit cards. And then I started getting more messages from people, and I started to do the Powerhouse Academy. And I started working with Chandra Brooks.
Yeah.
And that's when the magic happened for me. I started to dive deep into what I wanted to do, what my purpose was, what my mission was. And
this is so exciting. I have like a warm, fuzzy feeling in my stomach. This is so cool.
Man, I'm just so excited to be able to do this. Honestly, like, this is such an honor for me to help people really understand that you can have control over your finances.
Oh, cool.
Anybody could do it, and you don't have to live a life of being stressed out, not thinking that you can go anywhere, not thinking that you can invest, that you can transform your money story.
Yeah.
You can impact your next generation. Like, I'm helping my nieces out. I'm helping them invest. Like, I want them to do better than me, to have, all these different investments. I want to set them up,
It's crazy because if you would have just started when you're like 10, you don't even have you don't have to put in that much money. It's crazy. So it is very empowering. Pay yourself first. I do.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to do your closing statement, what's one thing that you would tell people if they could get something from this episode?
That they can get control of their finances, that this is not the end for them. Like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you really want to get out of debt, you can get out of debt.
I agree 1,000%. It's a struggle, but it's well worth it. And, there's a Bible verse, and it's like, with enough faith, you can move a mountain. And I was like, what does that even mean? But once you realize that it just takes literally like even if you just take $1 and send it to the credit card company, you're $1 closer. If you're trying to save $10,000, open up an account and just putting $1 in there. You no longer, your goal has even, you're one step closer. So just take small action, even if it's 1% of your income, you'll start feeling good and it'll turn into 2. And before you know it, you're on your way. And another thing that I do want to talk about is for anyone who is who is struggling, who's like, I can't pay off my debt, I don't have enough money. Develop your skills, add more value to the world. Because if you're only able to, I don't want to hate on someone who works at McDonald's, shout out to McDonald's employees and everybody. But if you're only able to say you're a fast food worker, if that's all you can do on the weekend, you're only going to work 40 hours a week. That means you have, I think it's 160 hours a week or something. You can take that time and develop your skills. When you get off of work, instead of smoking or drinking or just Netflixing, develop your skills, whether it's photography or building a podcast. Develop your skills. And the more skills you have, the more money you make. And the more money you make, the more you can pay down these things and you can free yourself. So save money, but learn how to make money. And you make money by developing your skills and help other people win. That's why we're on this podcast. So those are my kind of closing words, is develop those skills and take the control back.
Yes. Yes, that is so powerful.
So how can people find you? How can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I'm under Mari Preciado Gutierrez.
Okay.
And they can also follow me on Instagram.
Cool.
I'm Debt Slayer.
Okay.
I'll put the information as well. I'll send it to you also.
Cool. I'll put it in the show notes for this episode. I really, really want to thank you for coming on this episode. It was honestly, you think it's like, I learned so much. Like, one of the things that I really took from this is I do need to take control of my finances, eat out a little bit less and take that. But the fact that you said people are listening was very empowering to me, because for you to be excited to be on here, for me to be excited, I'm watching you, I'm listening to you, and it's motivating me. And I was like, you know what? Like, I would love to have her. I love watching your journey. So that was huge for me, is like people are listening, and it made me just want to go, even if, if I don't want to give up, but it just made me like, man, it was a very powerful statement. So thank you for sharing that. So I'll put her in the show notes. Thank you again. From the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate it.
Oh man, I appreciate you too, and everything you've done for me and my family. Like, my dad and I are gonna we're gonna do your event next week. My dad's all fired up.
Cool. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to get in there and create a space. So I'm actually gonna start preparing. I really want to get the information down. I want to go through the budget, and I want to be prepared when people ask. And it's a way I want people to, if they're involved in real estate, what have they learned? So it's really an open forum. So I'm excited. Thank you. And yeah, speaking of the event, anybody listening, follow me on Part of the Culture on Instagram, or partoftheculture.com. And I'm throwing a seminar on real estate. I want people to be able to ask me questions on how did I get involved in my first fix and flip. My partner, who's done 6 fix and flips, is going to be on there. And her boyfriend, who has been involved in those 6 fix and flips, who actually like rehabs and does the roof and does the painting, and who helped me through this whole process, they'll be there. And all we are there to do is answer your questions, but like specifically, not this like, oh, kind of. It's like, this is how much we spent. This is how much the budget was. This is where we got the money. This is how we found the deal. So it's a platform for people to learn and continue to change their life, and where it's a Q&A. And at the end, I'm going to talk about investing and buying assets and why did I do it. And so it's going to be a great forum. Thank you for bringing that up. So go to Part of the Culture, spell normal, Part of the Culture, all one word, on Instagram to find out more. The link is in my bio there. But thank you so much again. Have a blessed day.
Oh, you as well. You take care.
Have a good one. I'll see you later.
Okay.